of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, in singling out contemporary African problems of socio-economic transformation required given the existential threat of climate change. The required reforms of the multilateral development banks to be fit for purpose, scale up resources, and championing for the reforms of the global financial architecture. This is the 59th annual meeting of the African Development Bank Group and also marks 60th anniversary of the African Development Bank. It is thus a celebration. It has a theme, African economic transformation, the African Development Bank Group, reforming of the global financial architecture. It is such an exciting theme at this time in African continent. The annual meetings will provide an unparalleled networking opportunities, facilitating strategic collaboration and partnership with key decision makers from African Development Bank Group member countries, as well as all shareholders, but also explore feasible solutions for African economies and the transformation agenda. We want to assure you all, our distinguished guests and delegates, that Kenya is fully prepared to host the event, ensuring a seamless experience for everyone. The event will be hosted at the Kenyatta International Convention Center. The historical significance of this convention center is that it hosted the World Bank and International Monetary Fund annual meetings half a century ago. That was in 1973. We look forward to welcoming you to Nairobi for what promises to be a historic chapter in our ongoing partnership with the African Development Bank Group, the African region, and the world at large. So karibu Kenya, welcome to Kenya. Asante sana, thank you very much.
Good afternoon and a warm welcome to KBC Lunchtime News, the day being the 23rd day of May 2024. My name is Njue. Brian Muraru will be our sign language interpreter for this live newscast. We are keeping tabs with President William Ruto's official visit to Washington, D.C., and I'll be giving you details of his itinerary a little bit later. Of course, you can weigh in on the conversation here on KBC Lunchtime News on all our social media spaces as we are live. And just a quick one, in the business segment, we'll be having an interview on online opportunity. It's a good opportunity for you to know what lies in that digital space and opportunities thereafter. Straight to the news. A Kenyan mountaineer, Joshua Cheruyot Kirui, has died during an expedition on Mount Everest along the China-Nepal border. The 40-year-old Cheruyot is said to have gone missing near the summit of the Mount Everest on Wednesday in the company of his guide, a Nepali Nawang Sherpa, aged 44 years. The two reportedly attempted to climb the mountain without sufficient oxygen.
Is located on the border of Nepal and the Tibet Autonomous Region of China. It is part of the Himalayas, a mountain system that stretches across 5 countries. The Kenyan climber, Cheruyot Kirui, according to Himalayan Times, went missing near the summit of Mount Everest, located at the exact point where the China-Nepal border runs across. The summit point of the mountain is the topmost level that can be reached. Cheruyot's body was found a few meters below the summit point, where rescuers from 7 summit treks are said to have discovered it, according to base camp officials. The whereabouts of his guide, Nawang Sherpa, are still unknown. It is reported that Kirui, a corporate banking specialist and a mountaineer, was on a daring mission to reach the summit without supplementary oxygen. Himalayan Times reports that the deceased went out of contact from the Bishop Rock Point, which is located at an elevation of 8,810 meters, about 40 meters below the summit, where, according to his guide, Kirui had refused to return and even consumed bottled oxygen but showed abnormal behavior. Lack of oxygen in this high-altitude region can lead to hypoxia, frostbite, exhaustion and severe altitude sickness. Climbers must move diligently yet swiftly to minimize their exposure to the deadly conditions. Mount Everest is the highest of the Himalayan mountains at 8,850 meters, equal to 29,035 feet, and is considered the highest point on Earth. As they say, in mountaineering, some get success, some get tragedy.
And to another incident, and this time around in Homa Bay County, where elders from Komenya sublocation in East Kochia location have called for expedited police investigations into the murder of a secondary school teacher in the area. Speaking at Komenya village, the elders urged the police in Rangwe to intensify their efforts and apprehend those responsible for the spearing of Benson Evans, a teacher at Bakita Girls Secondary School. The elders say the incident has left the local community in shock and fear as the motive behind the brutal killing remains unknown.
Mwalimu mzuri, watoto yote napenda, hata wasee napenda, hata wasasi napenda. Na kufa kama umbwa kwa nchi yetu. Hiyo jinsi naona mbaya sana.
This has brought a lot of fear to most of the teachers. And as you know, for good performance, teachers have to leave very early going to schools. Most of them now cannot even attend morning dawns because they fear their security.
I'm just requesting the government to give the teachers rights so that we know who did the act and why.
Away from that to our top story, where President William Ruto will be accorded a full state reception by his host, U.S. President Joe Biden, later this evening as the two leaders celebrate the 60 years of cordial relations between the two nations. Several bilateral agreements are expected to be signed as well. But before the White House reception, President William Ruto will also have an audience with former President Barack Obama, who has Kenyan roots.
The second day of President William Ruto in Washington, D.C. will be activity-packed. Before heading out for the official reception in White House,
thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Ruto will meet the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. Ruto will be accorded a full state reception at the White House by the host before retreating for bilateral engagements.
Well, ready, ready, shot, ready, base.
Several areas of cooperation to deepen relations between the two nations beyond the 60 years of cordial relations will also be signed. The president met his host on Wednesday at a tech roundtable in White House. Both the leaders underscored the need for allocation of more resources and support in the digital space to expand economic opportunities in Kenya.
And Mr. President, one very important aspect is the CHIPS Act, which hopefully we will be able to have a conversation about in the coming days. And Your Excellency, it speaks to the wealth of opportunity that exists between Kenya and the United States. Our young population, talented, educated, innovative, and American technology that is cutting edge, and investment capital and investors that are hungry for opportunities, not just in Kenya, but in our continent, is a perfect match for this moment.
In return, I think, as I said, we're going to prioritize the technological partnership between our countries, and former CEO, who was also a former CEO, is going to make sure that happens. And Vice President Harris is already building a new public-private partnership to increase investments in innovation. And because our cooperation matters, it's not just for our own people, but for people around the world. If this relationship continues to grow as it is, I think it benefits not only the United States and Kenya, but will lead and will have positive benefits literally around the world.
President Ruto also met the Congressional Black Caucus, where he rallied them to support Africa's quest to overhaul the financial architecture of multilateral lenders, claiming debt was choking emerging democracies in the continent.
Kenya has been a true leader. Your country's dynamic and well-educated workforce is already contributing to economic growth through innovation and increased trade ties with the United States.
Today, countries like Kenya borrow in the financial markets 8 times more in interest than other countries. And that is the case for most African countries. We are saying the Congressional Black Caucus, this great institution, the American Congress, should lead the way in making sure that the international financial architecture, the World Bank, the IMF, multilateral development banks, are fashioned in a manner that gives every country a chance to borrow concessional resources so that we can develop our countries and we can deal with the effects of climate change, of floods, of droughts. And that no country spends more money servicing debt than paying for healthcare or education or social services for their citizens.
To further the agenda of reforms in the World Bank and IMF as sought by Africa, President Ruto also engaged House of Representatives Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority and Minority Leaders Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell.
We're really grateful for Kenya's partnership in opposing extremists around the world
And we're definitely keeping our eyes peeled for more information from Washington, D.C. And back home, the Kenya Libraries and Information Services Consortium is holding a 2-day conference in Nakuru County to discuss emerging trends in the field, especially on technology, including artificial intelligence, AI, and access to e-books. The consortium chairman, Dr. Arnold Mwanzu, says artificial intelligence is one of the emerging trends that must be embraced to better information sharing and bolster research and development. The consortium also provides a platform for universities, colleges, and TVET libraries to pool resources and negotiate for e-books and related technologies to boost access to information for which researchers would be expensive if sourced by individual institutions.
Universities are nowadays using AI to do research, but there are tools that are available, and we've actually identified a number of tools that are able to detect plagiarism. So what we are doing is we are empowering our librarians in readiness, not to see AI as a hindrance, but to embrace it. So we have quite a number of tools like Team, which is a plagiarism detection tool. All our member libraries have a plagiarism detector, so that when students are submitting assignments, before it goes to the faculty for marking, we're able to see the originality.
One challenge we have been facing is the increasing costs of these resources, because purely 98% of these resources come from developed countries, whereby we are required to pay in foreign currency. And as you know that our local currency vis-a-vis the foreign currency, the exchange rate has been going up. This has made it very hard for us to be able to meet the costs. However, we have been trying to make our ends meet by increasing our member institutions in terms of membership.
And in other news, a section of senior residents from Ruiru are calling on the government to increasing the monthly Inua Jamii stipend to cushion them from the harsh economic times. They say the current allocation hardly meets their monthly expenses.
At Ruiru Social Hall, several banks converged to open accounts for elderly persons who had been registered for the Inua Jamii cash transfer program that targets orphans, vulnerable children, disabled persons, and persons aged 70 years and above. The bank accounts will be credited with their stipends. The senior citizens, however, lamented that whereas 2,000 shillings they receive monthly under the program is not sufficient, their children were badly off, with some of them jobless.
Tunafurahia sana bila mtuletea hii mradi, na tena sisi hatuna uwezo wowote, lakini tunaamini mtuongezee kitu kidogo ndio ikuwe sawa sawa.
Ruiru Member of Parliament Simon Nganga Kingara, who launched the exercise, said the government has put in place measures to reduce delays in disbursement of the stipends to support the beneficiaries.
Serikali imekuja na mikakati mpya, imeweka ile pesa katika bajeti, kwa hivyo itakuwa ngumu sasa kuchelewa vile sasa pesa imewekwa katika bajeti na kunakuwa na ule utaratibu umewekwa. Siku hizi mambo ni kidijitali, hakuna vile ati mama atapoteza pesa zake, akijisajili hapa na bank na utaratibu ufuatwe atapata pesa zake.
The exercise is a continuation of the fresh registration launched last year in September that saw 500,000 Kenyans enrolled. For Lunchtime News, I'm Christine Matunda.
And still in Kiambu County, it's a relief for consumers of water in Ruiru and Juja sub-counties of Kiambu after the local distributor of the commodity scrapped a monthly standing charge. The move comes as the Ruiru Juja Water and Sewerage Company, Rujuwasco, moves to review water tariffs which have remained unchanged over the last 10 years. Consumers were being charged a standing fee of 360 shillings every month, even when there was no change in meter readings. However, the meter charges are expected to increase in line with the rising cost of maintenance and electricity.
Rates za maji zimekuwa za juu kidogo, maana hata kama hautumii maji ilikuwa mwisho wa mwezi ni lazima uletewe bill fulani. Lakini kwa wakati huu kulingana na zile tariffs mpya ambazo wamezileta ni kumaanisha ya kwamba mwisho wa mwezi kama haujatumia maji hautakuwa unapata bili yoyote.
Rujuwasco wamefanya vizuri. Mahali ambapo tunafaa tuzungumze nao ni mahali ambapo sasa wale nao wanatumia maji mengi sana, kwa sababu hapo ndipo kidogo labda kunaweza kuwa na complaint kidogo.
Tumesema ya kwamba tutaanza kuangalia pahali pengine tunaweza kuwa na vidudu ama dam zingine, na tumeanza hata kuangalia kufanya utafiti kuangalia kama tunaweza kuwa na borehole zingine ili maji yawe ya kutosha.
From Kiambu to Kwale County, where youth in Msambweni are being empowered to embrace culture as a means of fostering peace and molding characters. We World, an organization spearheading this initiative, is focused on guiding the youth towards embracing traditional values to discourage them from joining disruptive groups in the community. During the meeting, elders and local leaders stressed the importance of steering the youth away from harmful influences that cause disharmony in the society.
Kwa hivyo utamaduni unapozingatiwa basi inamaanisha inaleta umoja zaidi. Kwa hivyo madhara makubwa yamekuwa utovu wa nidhamu na utovu wa amani ambao umetokea umesababishwa na kutofuata utamaduni ambao unaostahili.
Na hata kwenye syllabus sasa hivi upande wa primary wameleta mambo na mila pia ziko ndani. Kwa hivyo tunataka tuwe tunahusishwa sana kwenye mambo kama haya ili kuwaelezea vijana wetu utamaduni.
Kwa hiyo tunaona sana ni muhimu kwa wazee kukumbuka hizo tamaduni walivyokuwa wanazitumia kusawazisha migogoro na makesi za hizi pia ziwe ili ziturahishie masuala mazima ya amani katika nchi yetu ya Kenya.
Moving on, persons with disabilities and other stakeholders in the eastern region are optimistic that the Persons with Disabilities National Policy Review will effectively handle emerging issues including health. The Eastern Region Coordinator of the National Syndemic Disease Control Council, Julius Kome, observed that the efforts by the National Council for Persons with Disabilities to revamp the national policy framework which will ensure capturing and handling of emerging issues on communicable and non-communicable diseases such as HIV/AIDS.
We appreciate the work that the Council of People with Disabilities is doing to ensure that the policy, the registration is rejuvenated to capture the emerging issues, and especially the non-communicable diseases and communicable diseases such as HIV.
Tungependa sana kwenye hii policy mambo ya uongozi wa wanawake ambao wako na ulemavu itoe manane sana ndio iweze hata kuinfluence at the national level vile uongozi wa wanawake utakuwa ambao wako na disability.
From health to education, where junior secondary school teachers in Kiambu County have urged politicians to stop politicizing their push for employment. The teachers say politicians are using their plight for political mileage, with some using public platforms to make false promises. The teachers say they will not return to work until their demands are met by the Teacher Service Commission.
Ningeweza kuambia TSC kwamba they have the mandate to employers. Kwa nini tunaona wale ambao hawana mandate ya kufanya kazi yao wakifanya?
As JSS teachers tuko na kiapo ambacho ni kiapo cha umoja na kiapo kwamba hatutarudi shule tena unless serikali inatupatia kitu tunaita PNP. Walimu musilale.
And in Samburu, a section of leaders drawn from the county have rejected the one man, one vote, 1 shilling revenue sharing principle proposed by, among others, Deputy President and a section of Mount Kenya leaders. Led by former Samburu woman representative Milestone Leshomo, the leaders from the arid and semi-arid areas held that the region has historically lagged behind in terms of development due to the vast landmass, saying landmass must also be considered as a factor in sharing the national cake.
Sasa tunaangalia mambo ya matax, tunaangalia nini, tunaangalia shida bila inakuja maji, mvua imenyesha imebeba watu wengine bado hana manyumba ya kukaa, watu wengine hata kama sisi au wengine wamehama juu ya hii vita. Sasa badala iangaliwe hiyo, tunakuja kusukumzia mambo ya kilomita, sijui nani wengi, nani wasio wachache, nani wengi.
Tunapinga hiyo formula, tunasema wafugaji wapatiwe rasilimali yao sawa na Wakenya wengine.
Sisi tuko kwa 1 shilling, 1 kilometer, 1 vote. Na hakuna njia nyingine. Sisi pia tunataka amani Kenya, hatutaki vurugu na maneno ambayo inashtua watu kutengwa hatukubali.
Now, heavy rains in Ndumberi village in Kiambu sub-county have led to the displacement of 8 families, among them a 95-year-old grandmother. Naomi Wariara, a long-term resident, suffered the loss of her home and crops due to the unprecedented flooding. Residents are calling on the government to come to their aid, even as they expressed fears of possible disease outbreaks.
If you look at this land, all the plants, the coffee and everything, will now go to waste because it will dry up. It can't survive in this water. About 5 families are affected. And all those people are not living in their house, including the rental houses. The washrooms are full of water because the water table is quite high up. All those people have moved as tenants, although they have their homes.
Time to make sense of shillings and cents in business, where NCBA Group made 5.3 billion shillings in net profit during the first 3 months of this year, compared to 5.1 billion shillings in a similar period last year, boosted by improved operating income and lower loan loss provisioning. The lender's operating income rose 2.8% to 16 billion shillings, while credit loss provision reduced 31% to 1.4 billion shillings.
The lender says customer deposits increased 9.7% to 548 billion shillings. In addition, total assets increased 10.5% to 695 billion shillings, which enabled NCBA to disburse 232 billion shillings in digital loans through platforms such as Loop, Mshwari and Fuliza, representing a growth of 3.9%. This helped power up the operating income to 16 billion shillings, representing a 2.8% growth. However, cost efficiency prioritization pushed up the year-on-year operating expenses by 12%. Based on this, NCBA Group Managing Director John Gashora says the lender made 5.3 billion shillings in net profit during the first 3 months of this year, which is a 4.7 year-on-year increase. Gashora says, and I quote, "Despite a challenging operating environment, our diversified business model continued to demonstrate growth and resilience with a strong contribution from our digital business and stable performance from our regional banking subsidiaries." NCBA regional subsidiaries in Uganda, Tanzania and Rwanda delivered a combined 705 million shillings, representing 11% of group profitability, while the non-banking subsidiaries, including the investment bank, bank assurance and leasing, all reported operating profit and contributed 4.9% of the group profitability. Gashora projects the business environment to benefit from the positive outcomes outlined in ongoing public and private sector economic policy interventions. Alanaoko, Lunchtime News.
The National Drought Management Authority has distributed 700 Gala goats in Laikipia North in a restocking and breed improvement project. Here's Enda Murunge with the details.
Gala goats are preferred in arid and semi-arid lands such as northeastern Kenya since they are fast maturing and yield more milk. The National Drought Management Authority is spearheading a restocking program in northeastern Kenya. Impact Programs Director John Tingyo says they are supplying 5 doses per family, while the National Drought Management Authority will offer 125 bags aimed to serve 250 homesteads.
Tukishirikiana na National Drought Management Authority wa Laikipia, pia wao waliweza kununua senge 70 na bado tutafuatilia kupea beneficiaries ili kufanya ni kuimprove ile breed wako nayo.
The National Drought Management Authority, in partnership with the local community organization funded by Home Planet Fund, is targeting needy pastoral families, including women-headed households.
Kuna kiangazi ilikuwa imekuja miaka 4 ambayo iliweza kusukuma watu chini kabisa na kumaliza mali. So wakati tulipopata Impact Kenya wakatuambia kuna msaada, tulishukuru sana.
This project comes at a time when pastoralists are yet to recover from the recent drought where thousands of livestock died.
Kiangazi huwa imetushika, mbuzi saa ingine zimeisha, lakini nashukuru kwa msaada wa kampuni ambayo imetusaidia.
Edna Murungi, for Lunchtime News.
And across borders, the government of Tanzania has launched a new cement company to bridge the demand gap. The company that is located at Mukura district is currently sourcing more than 50% of the raw materials required for production locally in Tanzania, except for white clinker, which will be imported. Here are the details of these stories and other Africa Business News stories.
The new cement factory located at Mukuranga district in Tanzania's coast region is owned by Fortune Cement Co. Limited and can produce 200 tons per day while also increasing employment and revenue for the country. Tanzania's Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade, Exod Kihai, said that white cement is used to create polished or textured walls, floors and ceilings in interior design. Due to its outstanding workability, it can be applied and molded with ease, creating a seamless and cleaner surface. He also assured the general public and investors that the government will continue to create a favorable investment environment, especially through the industry sector, to contribute to the creation of various opportunities. Meanwhile, the Energy Council of South Africa has responded to concerns raised by municipalities on the constitutionality of certain aspects of a new electricity law, saying these concerns could be addressed during the planning phase that will follow once the bill has been signed into law. The municipalities fear that the new electricity regulation amendment bill will limit their role in providing electricity to households, businesses, and government in their service areas. The municipalities who seem to oppose the new electricity bill maintain that it would infringe on the powers granted to local government in the Constitution. Finally, the Ethiopian government has announced that the country's economic is on track to achieve a projected 7.9% growth rate for the current Ethiopian financial year. According to Ethiopian Minister of Planning and Development Fisum Asefa, the performance in the country's agriculture industry and service sector over the first 9 months of the fiscal year indicates that the target is attainable. In terms of revenue generation, Mr. Asefa reported that the Ethiopian government has collected about $6.5 billion within the past 9 months.
Very well, at about 26 minutes past the top of the hour, we are due for our first break. But when we come back, we have an opportunity to go to the interview segment. I'll be engaging Mwendwa Mutua, who is the founder of Biotech Group Limited. We're going to look at the opportunities, the online opportunities that are there. Remember, I think last month we had the Africa Connect Summit. And of course, all the opportunities that are available in the digital space. Watch this space.
Tukipata 100k, yani tukipata kama leo, tutaifanyia kazi. After culture festival, maybe we will be double profit on it. Kama ikiwa tutapata 100,000, basi tuweze tukatengeneza 200,000 within 1 month ama 1.5.
The 100,000, I'll start my business, inshallah, kuendeleza. Yeah, I am art, by the way. Yeah, I used to drawing something, hata kukata vitu, kutengeneza decoration. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so itakuwa the big chance to do something, sindio? Yeah, to niendeleze maisha na maisha itasonga.
Mimi nitainvest kununua tools za kutengeza chombo. Kama mimi ni dao maker, lakini natumia local tools kutengeneza hii. Ikiwa nitakuwa na electrical tools, nitatengeneza faster. Kazi yangu itaiboresha vizuri zaidi kuliko kutumia mkono na take too longer kwa exercise.
Kipata 100,000, naongeza pikipiki ya pili ili nipate kuangalia familia kwa uzuri.
Nitainua biashara yangu. Kama sasa napika nyumbani, nikipata 100,000 nitafungua kama hoteli. Ukishafanya hiyo biashara sasa, waweza ukaenda kama benki ukachukua mkopo, ukapewa, kilipa vizuri, utapewa taregesho, utapewa tena, nitapata 100,000 hata 200,000.
Nitafurahi sana. Nitajaribu pia kuinvest katika kazi yangu, kufanya mambo mazuri kama kurembesha kazi yangu, kutafuta zitu za kunisaidia kama life jacket. Ni big challenge kwa our marine security. Unaona? Ku maintain na dau pia ni ngumu sana, so it need a lot of work, na yani itatusaidia katika pesa. Mambo hiyo ni mambo mengi sana ambayo itatusaidia sisi, maisha yangu mimi na familia yangu, na wale wote ambao wananitegemea mimi.
The cause to reform the global financial architecture is gaining traction the world over. Here in Africa, Kenya is leading in this push. But the question is, will world powers yield to these demands?
It is a conversation that will continue, but I think our president has done very well and is providing that leadership even as he travels abroad. He keeps really hammering this point that we really need to see how to reform the international financial architecture. Both the IMF, World Bank, the African Development Bank Group and others.
This week on Inside the Government, we're talking to the Principal Secretary in the State Department, Finance and Treasury, Dr. Chris Pipton. Our conversation will revolve around the upcoming annual general meeting of the African Development Bank, the agenda and the expected outcomes. Watch this conversation right here on KBC Channel 1 with me, O'Brien.
Welcome back, and just in case you joined us, you're watching KBC Lunchtime News. We are on the business segment and on the interactive segment, where I'm now engaging Mwendwa Mutua, who is the founder of Biotechnology Group Limited, which actually deals, we're going to be touching on what exactly you deal with, and we are looking at opportunities that are on the digital space. Mwendwa, karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Bentroy.
Just to begin, what are some of the, why is it important for any entity and organizations to be online and to be very active? And what are some of the opportunities that are there in the digital space?
You know, I like saying that I think I'm the current Noah, telling people to get into the ark because the rains are about to pour. You've just seen what the president is doing in the US.
Yeah.
They're having a conversation around technology, and you can imagine them spending all that time getting to talk about technology. It is time. It is time to onboard on when it comes to technological advancements. And there's a lot that's happening. You know, some time back, the president kept on saying that, you know, unafinya computer pesa inatoka. And people are making fun about that. But it's happening because right now the digital economy employs a lot of people. The new millionaires in town, you know, are the guys you're watching online. How many time, or rather, how many hours in a day do you spend on TikTok? Do you spend on Facebook? And you can only imagine as a company the opportunities which are there, from digital marketing all the way to the technological advancements, the use of artificial intelligence right now, you know, generative AI, you can, you know, mine a lot of data, you can have the big data analytics, you know, you can invest in that as a company. So the opportunities are immense. This is one pool that you can never say this is a limit, from content creation to companies enhancing their marketing activities on the digital space. And these are the opportunities that are available on the digital space.
Very well. Let's now narrow it down to digital marketing. How is it prominent in Kenya? We know very well Kenya as a country, we are one of the leaders in the continent in terms of connectivity, internet connectivity.
True.
Let's go to internet and marketing.
Yes, I think digital marketing is now immense. From, you know, the content that our young people are creating, and you can have digital marketing in that, to the use of analytics, talk of the Google Analytics and other, so many different analytics. AI, of course, is a very big way of enhancing digital marketing right now, whereby you can even do, the most interesting one is when it comes to what we call programmatic media buying, where you can even do a footprint of people. Let's say you want to know the people who attended or rather visited a certain mall. You're able to do a footprint of this using AI and then target your audience. And the channels are so many from all these social media platforms that we have.
How do we rope in the youth, especially? Because when we talk about the digital space, a lot of them are making money due to more or less content creation, targeting entertainment sector.
Yes.
You just see TikTok. You don't see quite elaborative books, you know, genres. How do we rope in that market?
Exactly. I would say in whichever field you are, if you're a young person. Let's say, for instance, the field that no one talks about when you talk about digital. Let's say an accountant or a lawyer. You know, if you go to ChatGPT right now and trying to look for data from Kenya, there's nothing much there. So why can't you start a channel, a blog, you know, where people can access this content, share your knowledge, You don't have to write a book nowadays, but you can go on the online space, share your thoughts, and make money out of it. You don't have to take a camera, because everybody just thinks that you have to take a camera and go and create content. But you can write a lot of educative material, a lot of data around your industry, whichever industry you are in, and people will be able to consume this, and you'll make money out of it.
I hope the youth are listening, because I've seen cookery programs, I've seen sports as well.
Exactly.
Now, last month we had the Connect Summit here in Nairobi, which was quite instrumental. And I would say that after holding the Climate Summit and the Connect Summit, we are headed somewhere.
Yes.
Now we have the e-Digital Connect, Africa e-Digital Connect Summit, of which you are one of the guys who are spearheading it.
Exactly.
What are the take-homes from the Connect Summit that we held here last month, and what do you intend to achieve in the e-Digital Summit that you're planning to hold? Tell us about that.
Yeah, the Africa Connect Summit just showcased that Kenya is the hub of technology in Africa. All the African countries came here, and the discussions were around the innovations that we've done as a country. And you've seen from mobile money and other great innovations that we've done as a country. But now going to the African e-Digital Connect, I think this is one of the summits that it's homegrown, and we're planning to make it the biggest tech summit in Africa. Reason being, like this year's summit, we have over 50 speakers on that stage. And these are innovators. They're not just people who are coming there to talk and give a lot of lecture, but these are speakers who have innovated. I always like giving the example of a gentleman who has invented an app called Mamafua. You know, you can imagine. Who would have even thought of that you can order your Mamafua online and pay for those services online? And he's giving job to over 6,000 plus women, you know?
Wow.
And that is the amazing stories that we'll be telling on that stage. Talking about cybersecurity, talking about, we're going to have a very interesting day. The second day is going to be around the impacts of innovation on the digital economy.
And for the sake of for our viewers, when will the summit be, and for how many days?
Yeah, this is running from 9th July to 11th July at KICC, and it is hosted alongside the prestigious China Trade Week, where we have guys from China. I think 60% of the exhibitors are from China, and a good number from Dubai, and also our own here in Kenya. So it will be a hub of a lot of interactions in the business sector, and also when it comes to technology. Yes.
And cybersecurity remains a key security challenge here, and especially in developing worlds. How do we ensure that companies and entities keep their documents, details safe? And what exactly are you doing at Biotech to help them do that?
Yes, I think right now with the technological advancements, I would say actually cyber insecurity is we're not really worried much about that right now, because there's a lot of advancement in that area. We have a lot of innovations around that. And of course, as Biotech, number one, it's about data protection. We make sure that we adhere to every other law when it comes to data protection. Also, we work with cybersecurity gurus, the guys who know how to, protect data, because of course there's a risk that is involved. As much as there's a technological advancement, every day also there's somebody who's trying to mess around. But we also make sure that we work with the best of the best across the globe to make sure that our data is well protected.
And just a quick one as we wrap up in regards to the summit. Who are you targeting, and is it open for everyone?
I would say it's open, because the topics range from e-governance to impacts of innovation on the digital economy to fintech, So it cuts across. It's open to everybody, but I would like to talk to the youth and really urge them to come and listen in. All this story of, there's no job out there and all that. You'll find people will give you ideas on how you can make money on the digital platforms. But also businesses, people who run businesses, we're going to talk about business solutions. We're going to talk about the e-governance. Everybody is talking about e-teams. How do you onboard on e-teams? We're going to have guys from the government getting to talk about that, and the importance of also supporting the government in this digital innovation journey.
Your final remarks in regards to, as much as everything is evolving, I'm quite sure one thing that is quite evolving very fast is AI.
Yes.
And its integration into companies, as we wrap up.
This is what I would say. Funny bit is that AI was first invented in 1955. It did come yesterday. Yes, it was the first
That's
AI.
a couple of years back.
Yes, that's 1955. I think it's older than me and you.
Yes, very true.
Yeah, but right now we are around the conversation of generative AI. Every other company can ask themselves, how are you onboarding your services? How are you onboarding your industry in the AI conversation? Are you in the data, big data analytics? Are you writing a lot? And again, our lawyers, our accountants, let's not be left behind as Africa. You know, when it came to these other innovations like going to the moon, we used to see that in the movies. But now in this era of technology, let's not be left behind. Let's write about our story. Let's tell our story. So that now you won't talk about AI telling the stories of other people or saying that these do not relate with us. It is us to control the conversation, because the conversation around generative AI, it's all about the data. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mwendwa Mutua, who is the founder and director of Dimetech Group Limited. We are looking at the online opportunities that you have, and as a young person, I would urge you to look out for the digital space, in as much as we are also looking at other aspects of life in terms of job searching. But the digital space is one sure bet. And in other news, young scientists are urging policymakers to take an active role in involving them in biotechnology debates, emphasizing the need for informed and inclusive policy advocacy. Here's Frederick Mwoki with the details.
Young scientists believe effective policies are essential to maximize the benefits of biotechnological advancements while mitigating potential risks. They say biotechnology crops like cotton need to be enhanced to improve health outcomes and conserve the environment. Speaking during the Open Forum on Agricultural Biotechnology in Kenya, young scientists from various universities and research institutions said effective policies are key in maximizing the benefits of biotechnological advancements while mitigating potential risks.
Kutoa hiyo hofu, tumeanzisha kampeni ya kuhamasisha umma kwamba hii ni teknolojia iliyofanyiwa utafiti wa kutosha, ni teknolojia sisi wenyewe kama halmashauri tumeiangalia, tumehakikisha ni salama, na kwa hivyo hakuna haja ya hofu, na ndio tumeanza kurecruit scientists wale wanaanza their careers waweze kuelewa.
The young scientists underscored the need to equip policymakers with information about the latest biotechnological developments. To address these, they are now proposing increased collaboration between scientists and legislators, suggesting workshops, joint committees, and continuous dialogue as means to bridge this knowledge gap.
Tunataka kuwa part of the plan, kwa sababu wito wa leo ni be part of the plan. Na kazi ambayo tunafanya sisi, mimi ni mwanasayansi kwanza, ni kutengeneza mimea ambayo inajistahimili against wadudu, against diseases.
And we have to organize a lot of seminars to be able to inform our youths about genetic engineering. We also have to use the various platforms, especially X and YouTube.
Frederick Mwoki for Lunchtime News.
And further afield, Cuba is launching customized services to attract more Chinese tourists with welcoming greetings and Chinese language assistance. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines from other parts of the world.
The move follows Cuba's visa exemption policy, which aims to boost tourism and cultural exchange with China. This marks the revival of the route and the implementation of the new visa-free policy, demonstrating Cuba's readiness to host more visitors. The tailored approach extends beyond language services. In recognizing significant dietary and cultural differences, Cuban hosts have adapted their offerings to better cater to Chinese preferences, including careful consideration of room assignments related to cultural numerology. Elsewhere, Abu Dhabi National Oil Company has raised $935 million from an additional 5.5 sale of shares in its drilling unit to institutional investors. The transaction constitutes a sale of 880 million shares priced at 3.9 dirhams at a 5.6% discount to the closing price of 4.13 dirhams on May 22nd. The company's transaction will increase the drilling unit's free float to 16.5%, standing as the biggest accelerated book build of a publicly listed company in the United Arab Emirates. The energy firm will retain a majority 78.5% shareholding in its drilling unit and has agreed to a restriction from selling further shares for a period of 6 months. Finally, Singapore Telecommunications has posted a 64% drop in full-year net profit hit by $3.1 billion impairment charge. This has been marred by multiple setbacks, including a massive network-wide outage in the country, data breaches, and steep declines in fixed carriage revenue amid increased capital costs. The telco forecast earning growth rate of high single digits to low double digits for fiscal 2025, proposing a final dividend of 9.8 Singapore cents per share compared with 5.3 Singapore cents a year earlier. Lorraine Chepchirchir for Lunchtime News.
Let's take a look at other news making headlines in the country, and let's look at the ongoing rains, where several residents living in the Kangonde area in the outskirts of Embu town have been forced to seek refuge in their neighbors' houses to escape the ongoing rains that have seen about 25 homesteads uninhabitable. The heavy downpour has left residents vulnerable to waterborne diseases.
The ongoing heavy downpour and its aftermath at the Kangonde area in the outskirts of Embu town. A situation that has forced many out of their homes to seek shelter in their neighbors' homes. Crops haven't been spared either.
Tukua tumepanda fruits kwa compound na hiyo maji ilikausha zote na hata saa hii zenye ziko zimeanza kukauka.
Imeharibika sana, imechanganya na sewage na vitu mingi, machura iko, maumbu, hata mtu harari usiku.
Watu wako na mashida ya arthritis na wanalala kwa maji. Tukisema tunaambiwa tuhame, tunahama tukienda wapi?
The concerned residents say they fear contracting waterborne diseases as the flood water is mixed with sewage.
Yeyote atakayeona tuko kwa shida, angalie shida yetu, because kama hapa hii imeaffect watu. Kwa hizi mboma sita siko hapa, sote ziko kwa maji.
So every morning, every evening, we have actually to bed down with buckets to try to get the water out of the living room. It's very tedious, but what else do we do?
The County Disaster Management Committee is further being urged to consider opening a channel that will drain the water to a nearby wetland. Yusufar reporting for Lunchtime News.
We have a long way to go.
And doctors at the Nyandarua JM Karaoke County Referral Hospital have conducted the first ever spinal surgery at the facility. The complex surgery involved stabilizing the fracture, decompressing the nerve, and ensuring proper bone alignment for healing. Dr. Beatrice Mogure lauded the milestone, emphasizing that the hospital is now equipped to handle such advanced procedures.
We are very happy to have had a very successful spinal surgery conducted by the lead surgeon here, Dr. Nganga, for one of the residents of Nyandarua, who has been able to be the first person to have this kind of surgery conducted here.
So today we carried out a surgery to stabilize the area, to also decompress the nerves which have been compressed, and to join the bones so that they are able to heal in a good position. The surgery has been successful, and I wish to thank the hospital administration and the county administration for supporting us in this.
And players in the tea industry should seek partnerships with technical training and vocational colleges to facilitate training for tea workers. Speaking during a 3-day conference at Kericho Township Technical Institute, dubbed TVET Conference, the institute's principal Shadrach Tonui said the country lacks curriculum for level 3 to 6 for the tea sector. There is need for TVETs to come up with occupational standards for training. He added that Kericho Technical and Vocational College is in the process of developing drones to be used in spraying tea farms to minimize chemical contacts with the farmers. The theme of the conference is enhancing tea industry linkages with TVETs.
The research is taking places, the collaborations working between the two institutions is going to give the farmer an added advantage. Like in Kericho Township, we are leveraging, and also we want to take advantage of developing the drone that can be able to be used in spraying the tea in the tea farms for the small scale farmers, and so it will actually avoid many of the chemical contact with the farmers and skin problems that can actually affect the farmer because of the chemicals.
It supports the development.
Time to tilt the lens and focus on sports. The national men's kabaddi team will leave the country tonight ahead of the 2024 Bangabadhu Cup, slated for May the 26th to June the 4th in Bangladesh. The team will have 5 elite professionals, among them James Kamweti from Kiambu Pluckers, Samuel Wafula from Kitale Fortunes, and David Mosambai from University of Nairobi Tigers. Junior players from the Kenya Academy of Sports, Danson Mbori, Geoffrey Mwangi, Ryan Neville, and Tobias Mureithi also made the cut in the traveling contingent. Kenya, a 2-time silver medalist in the tournament, will be going for nothing short of gold this year. The team has been residential training camp at the Kenya Academy of Sports in Kasarani Stadium for the last 3 months.
Right, John. bonus line super ride hote parchen na junior.
And the 2024 NCBA Golf Series is set to make a return this weekend at the Muthaiga Golf Club. Lays host to the 6th leg of the series. Over 200 golfers are expected to take part in the series at the Muthaiga Golf Course, renowned for its challenging par 71 layout. The golfers will be vying for the coveted slots to compete in the grand finale of the series later in the year. The slots will be awarded to the Division 1 male and female winners, Division 2 male and female winners, and overall winner in Division 3 and top performer in the junior category. Meanwhile, the NCBA US Kids Golf Tournament is scheduled to be played as well. Further afield, point guard Luka Doncic was unstoppable as the Dallas Mavericks beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 108-105 in the opening game of the NBA's best-of-7 series Western Conference Finals. Game 2 of the finals will be played on Friday in Minneapolis.
Inside.
Dallas Mavericks and Minnesota Timberwolves exchanged leads multiple times in a seesaw final quarter as Anthony Edwards' 24-foot three-pointer gave the Timberwolves a 102-98 advantage with just under 4 minutes to go. But 8 unanswered points from the Mavericks, including a step-back jump shot from Doncic, put them back in the lead before sealing the victory. Slovenia's Doncic top scored with 33 points, including 15 in the final quarter as the Mavericks gained fast advantage in the best-of-7 series. Kyrie Irving also scored 30 points for Dallas, with 24 of them coming in the first half in Minneapolis. Jaden McDaniels led the scoring for the Timberwolves with 24 points, while Edwards added 19.
On this, Doncic got a hand on it. Irving controls game.
And a quick one, Nigerian international Ademola Lookman was in the record books last night after he guided his team, Atalanta, to beat Bundesliga champions Bayer Leverkusen 3-0 in the Europa League Cup that was played last night. That's where we put a cap on KBC Lunchtime News this afternoon. Don't forget to check out our social media spaces for this news plus much more. More news in our subsequent bulletin. My name is Njue. Brian Muraru, apologies, has been our sign language interpreter for this live newscast. On behalf of my director, Jackie Wasolo, and everyone who has made this broadcast a success, you have yourself a blessed afternoon.
Fear is the belief that God is not with you, you of little faith.
You know, Jesus said, let this mind that was in me be in you. In a generation of different ideologies, scientific atheism, African Renaissance, how do we ideally allow the mindset of Christ?
Tuko kwa generation, we are chasing the interests, where we have small boys, big cars. We are in a space where hatutaki kuwa patient. We want life that comes up so fast.
I sticked and I had discipline in my whole life to say that I want to stand out in the community and I want to be a champion of saying it's not about what you guys know, it's about what God knows about your life.
Watch the Mozart Bet Cup as teams from both the top tier and lower tier battle for the ultimate prize of representing the country in Africa's CAF Confederations Cup. Catch all the action live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, beginning with a round of 16 matches, the quarter-final, semi-final, and the final. Mozart Bet Cup, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Have you ever dreamt of pumping up your brain power? From improving your memory to speaking more languages? A computer chip in the brain is no longer a distant sci-fi dream, and it could actually be a game changer for people with disabilities. Just recently, a paraplegic man was able to walk again with help from brain implants. And some chips these days even contain human brain cells. AI chips and the brain. That's our topic on Shift. US tech titan Elon Musk wants to optimize our brains with his startup Neuralink. The company's already made a name for itself through spectacular experiments on animals. And now Neuralink has received approval to start clinical trials on humans. And in Switzerland, scientists have helped a paraplegic man walk again using brain implants and AI. Take a look.
His life has been altered dramatically for the second time. Thanks to an experimental procedure linking the brain to the spine with a digital bridge, a paralyzed man is able to walk again.
Within 5 to 10 minutes, I could control my hips. The brain implant picked up what I was doing with my hips, so that was like the best outcome